Hello, hello. This is Adrienne. I go Capricorntigress of Astrology, a look inside. And I am coming to you with the reading, my intuitive interpretation or reading for Scorpio. Scorpio for the month of November 2018. Okay. So I always do these little things first because even to this day, I still make these little charts and I just like reading and looking them over before I do the actual aspects for the month. Because I'll go over that as soon as I finish this. So hold on. If you don't like my interpretations, then we'll go over the aspects after. I do want to wish everyone a happy Halloween, and I hope that everyone has a blessed November. So Scorpio, of course, you've had a lot of emphasis in the last year in your first house. Jupiter's been in your first house. I bet some of you Scorpios have gained a little weight. Some of you might have lost weight because it's lucky. Jupiter's a lucky sign, and so that's been transiting around the first house. And you might have had extra luck or felt extra lucky this year, and that's a good thing. It might have affected your relationships because it's that seesaw effect. When you have Jupiter and you're feeling good, sometimes your partner doesn't feel good. So I'm wondering if that could have been something that's happened. In the month of November, Venus starts out in Libra, and that's in your solar 12th house. And that is going to be moving, though. That's good. Venus does move during the month because it's going to retrograde or it's going to go forward into Scorpio. So you're going to have some emphasis of Venus in your first house over the month of November. And that's, it's funny because Venus in Scorpio is in its fall or detriment. It's not supposed to, it's opposite of where it's supposed to be. And so sometimes there can be some issues with love when Venus is in Scorpio. It was in Scorpio and then it retrograded and now it's coming back through. And so once again, I just want to say there could be some issues with your, you, it's almost like you versus your marriage or you versus your partner or you versus your relationships, because it's really kind of all about you right now as far as how, Venus there and Jupiter there, and you're in a good mood. So, if your partner might come at you and not be in a good mood. But I think with Jupiter and Venus there, it's going to smooth over your personality, and you should basically come off very affable and really have I think be happy for most of the month. Now, Mercury is in Sagittarius, and that's your second house. You're going to have your mind on your money in November. You're going to have your mind on your money in November. And so, and you might, you'll be able to think about different ideas to help you secure your money and your possessions. You might even come up with an idea or plan on how you can get whatever it is that you need that month. Because when Mercury in the second house, in my mind, I just see someone sitting down writing out all their like finances and figuring out how much their bills are and how much they've got left over and what they can do. And with it being in Sagittarius, you're probably figuring out, oh, how much money do I have to go on that trip? So my mind always sees stuff like that. There's emphasis in the third house still. You've had it all year. And this is because Pluto and Saturn are sitting in Capricorn in your solar third house. And so you might not even realized it, but this has been a time where like your relatives, like brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, all of those kind of people are like involved in your life. Like, it's been a time when you've maybe gotten back in touch with your family. And, it might be hard though. You might also have some issues or difficulties with your communication with your family, because Saturn might make it a little bit hard for communicating, while it's sitting in your solar third house. That could make things a little difficult for communicating. But Pluto's there, so it's going to kind of like open up all the hidden things. Maybe you'll just be able to talk out old things with your neighbors or your family or people like that, and just get things out on the open. I also feel like you've got power of the hidden word. Like you can speak, like just feels like there's power in the area of communication, and maybe even just around your neighborhood, like locally, like or within your family. Mars is kind of teeter-tottering between Aquarius and Pisces for the most part until it moves into Pisces. And that means it's going to move from your solar fourth to the fifth house. There's going to be emphasis in love for Scorpio. Not only is there, like I said, I saw that emphasis on the seventh house, but now or first house, which opens up the first seventh house axis. But now I see this emphasis on the fifth house, because you've got Neptune going through the fifth house anyway. But now Mars is going to go into the fifth house in the month of November. And Mars is kind of like your push, where your energy and desires are. And so you're going to desire maybe some more love and romance in your life. And I'm sure you'll figure out how to get it, because that's what you're going for right now. Uranus is right teetering on the cusp of like the descendant, pretty much, of Taurus, like the very first degree of Taurus, and it's going to retrograde back into Aries during the month of November. So, the emphasis has really been on your partner for the last couple of months, and or your marriage, if you're in a marriage, or your deep relationship or partnership, even a business partnership. It's been crazy. You might have felt like, what's going on with my partner? Like, he might be going off the deep end. So, that emphasis is going to kind of maybe pull back a little. And then the emphasis is going to be more of craziness at your work. Whatever craziness you went through last year at your work, you're going to suddenly experience it again. Luckily, it's temporary. Okay. So whatever craziness that, happened at your work, and you're like, thank goodness that went away, it's going to come back just for a few months, and then it'll go back into Taurus again. There is a little bit of emphasis, that North Node is going to be crossing over into that area of like dogma and education and legal things, like the ninth house travel. And when it does that, it just tells me, you Scorpios, this might be a good time for you guys to consider soon, things like going back to school, night school, maybe travel, religion, maybe being able to deal with legal matters and getting those taken care of. That's what I see for you Scorpios. And so that's a good thing. Now I'm going to go ahead and that was my personal take, by the way, on your little chart that I made. So I don't know if anyone got anything out of that, but let's go through the aspects, and then I'm going to see how those aspects affect your chart during the month of November. So in the beginning of November, on the 1st, Jupiter is trine Chiron, which is an opportunity to heal wounds. And with Jupiter being in your first house, it is actually a really good time because I believe Chiron is in your 5th house. And so it's going to be a good time, I think, to heal wounds that might have to deal with your children, and have to do with your romance, and have to do with you taking chances and it didn't work out, or maybe you tried to open a business or something and it didn't work out. Well, now you got a chance to heal those old wounds that were created by whatever went wrong, or whatever pain that was created, between you and your children, or you and your love, and hopefully you'll be able to fix that. On the 6th of November, the sun in Scorpio is going to be trine Neptune in Pisces. And so the sun is going to be in your first house again this month. It's all about you, Scorpio. It really is. There's going to be quite a bit of emphasis going through that first house and then into your second house. So, with Scorpio trying Neptune, it's more of that emphasis going from the solar first house to the solar fifth house again. Like, here we go again. Whatever confusion that there might have been or misunderstanding, maybe you can fix that, because this is a trine. It's going to be very positive. I think you're going to be able to have a good experience with your children that day, or your romantic partner. Even if you have your own business, that should go well that day. There's going to be creativity that day, very creative day. On the 6th of November, there's also a retrograde of Uranus. Retrograding Uranus actually retrogrades back into Aries, because, as I said earlier, it's things are going to be popping from Taurus, or Uranus is going to retrograde from Taurus and go back into Aries, and it does it on the 6th of November. And so that emphasis is going to go from like your descendant, like right at the cusp of your 7th house, and it's going to go back into that 6th house and hang around there for a little while. And, I think it's just going to be an opportunity to go backwards and to fix whatever is going wrong in your work, in the area of your work, and maybe your health. So if you've got any kind of weird things, be careful of your health too during that, because it might just bring back whatever you might not have taken care of in the area of work or health. And so just be aware of that. On the 7th, there's going to be a new moon in Scorpio, and it's going to give you a new start, because that new moon is going to be happening right in your solar first house. I mean, this is you. It's affecting you. It's going to make you a little bit emotional, and it's going to give you maybe you'll be thinking deeply that day, or be feeling a little emotional. But just know it's a time to start anew. New things, new projects, new starts. All of that is possible for you now. On the 8th, Jupiter enters Sagittarius. And so you're going to start, and that's your solar second house of money. So you may start feeling like really confident when it comes to things like money and what you own and what you possess. You might even feel like you can go out and buy things and stuff like that. So you'll have some big dreams when it comes to maybe what you own and what you possess, and your own personal money and the toys that you have. That's really going to be emphasized a lot during the month, that second house. Venus is going to trine Mars on the 9th of November, and that really indicates relationship harmony and inner balance. And, that Venus is going to be, I think it's still in Libra, but it's going to be coming back through into Scorpio, or is already into Scorpio. And so that's really going to be affecting, like I said earlier, that balance between your relationship house and you. And so hopefully you'll be able to find that inner balance that you need to be able to deal with whatever is going on in your relationship, or with your partner, like, your husband perhaps, or your significant partner. On the 15th of November, Mars enters Pisces. And, it's Mars is in Pisces is going to be in your solar fifth house again. So that's more action and emphasis in that solar fifth house. And that is, again, your children, any kind of business you might run or own. Romance, your romantic partner. I'm just thinking there's going to be more compassion with your children, more creativity in your romance. And things should, really take on a life of their own, really, when it comes to romance in the month of November. Things should get a little better, I think, for romance. Now, on the 16th, Mercury is going to retrograde in Sagittarius. So, that is your solar second house again. And when Mercury retrogrades there, you might feel like you made a mistake maybe, and you need to repair that mistake. It's just a time of reflection and just reviewing things, maybe looking over things with your money and your finances and reviewing those things and what you own and what you don't own and things like that. Venus is going direct. Okay, here it goes. Venus goes direct in Scorpio, and that is actually happening on the 16th. So love is going to improve on the 16th, and it's going to be in your first house. And you've got Venus there. So no matter what issues are going on with your partner, hopefully you'll be able to smooth them over, because you're going to be able to talk and communicate and just give off a much more pleasant, affable persona. And it'll be easier to really communicate with your marriage partner or your business partner and work out your relationship issues. And I really hope that you can fix that, during that on the 16th. Now, on the 19th, Mars is squared Jupiter, and Jupiter is sitting in your first house. Once again, we're looking at that first house, and then Mars is like right there at that fifth house cusp. So you might feel like you're overconfident and might want to overdo things right now. Just be careful of that, because with Jupiter in the first house, you feel overconfident anyway. And so with Mars in the fifth house, it might inspire you to take chances. And so you really want to be careful of, taking chances and maybe even harming yourself. So just be aware of that, because, it is Mars. So, that's important. On the 20th, the sun is trine Chiron. And the sun is, excuse me, the sun is in your first house. And Chiron is in your fifth house. So again, we got some emphasis on the house of children and on romantic relationships. And, with this, it's positive. It's a good time to heal those relationships. Really, all month, you've got the opportunity to heal the relationship with your romantic partner or your children or your, or just even with taking or healing whatever issues you have with taking chances and gambling away things or gambling things. It's just time to heal. It's time to heal your own wounds, your old hurts, the old pains, the old insecurities, and just let go of your pain and move forward. It's time. It's time. On the 22nd, the sun enters Sagittarius. So there's big things popping on the 22nd. That Sagittarius is, again, your second house of money, or second house of like possessions and what you have to give to others, and maybe even your emotional capacity. The sun is there. It's going to be big. So you're going to feel like you're probably very, very giving that day. But the thing is, the moon is going to be full in Gemini on the opposite side. So, that's thinking and processing and communicating. And there might be some issues that are going from what you actually have to what your possessions to what you have, or someone might owe you money. Just be careful of getting into any kind of crazy conversations or arguments today, because it is a full moon, and we all know how full moons can get. On the 24th, Neptune goes direct in Pisces. And that, again, more emphasis in the fifth house. More emphasis in the fifth house. That direct of Pisces is really going to be a return to love and compassion. And I think you're going to feel a lot of love and compassion for your children and your romantic partner, and things that really start to improve. On the 25th, the sun is conjunct Jupiter. And that sun it's just a time for you to grow, because when the sun conjuncts Jupiter, it's right there between, at the at the area of like your second house, your first house, your second house. And, you know, now it's in your second house. So now you're going to be able to grow in the area of your money. And I think, like I said, there's going to be a lot of emphasis in your money and what you have, and actually improving and growing on what you have. Mercury is going to square Mars on the 26th, and Mercury is in the second house. So more emphasis on the second house again, squaring that Mars in the fifth house. Once again, I swear the emphasis is between that second and fifth house, solar fifth house, all month long. And there might be a possibility of like having some miscommunications with your children or your romantic partner regarding money, regarding your possession. So be careful about that, what you own or something. Like they might take the car and smash it up or something. I don't know. I'm just coming up with scenarios in my head. But just realize that it might be hard for you to communicate easily today. Try not to get into any big arguments with anyone, and maybe not even try not to have any important meetings, because the second house, the fifth house is taking chances. And so you might feel like that's a day you can take a chance on something, and like, this is going to be the day of my big proposal or something like that. And yeah, don't do it that day, because it may or may not work out, because it's a square. It can be stressful. Squares can be stressful, and it's stressing from your second house. So just be aware of that. Well, you won't have too much stress about that. On the 27th, there's going to be a Sun conjunct Jupiter, and that means there's big dreams there. You've got some big ideas. And also the Sun is going to be conjunct Mercury. And again, that's real big thinking, big ideas, big dreams, big things popping. You want to do it big in the area of like money and what you have, and maybe even like want to get a new car. Like I want a Lexus. I don't know if you have the ability to get a Lexus. So be careful of this big grandiose feeling that you have that day, because you could wake up the next day and go, oh no, I spent all my money. How am I going to pay my rent? You don't want to do that. On the 30th, Venus is opposed to Uranus. And that means love is on the rocks. And in your case, Venus is sitting right pretty much in your first house. And Uranus is sitting in your sixth house. But I just feel like, since it was on the cusp of this, it's near the cusp of the descendant, just be aware of arguing with your partner and stuff like that. It just might be a crazy day for arguments. So that, just so that you know, that's, I'm going to leave it with that, because that's the last aspect for the month of November. Just be aware that Venus opposition is going to be happening in an area where it could affect like your partnerships and money and stuff like that. Okay. Or maybe you're giving your partner's money. Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been Adrienne Igo, Capricorntigress, from Astrology, a look inside. Just doing my best to get this stuff out to you guys for the month of November. I'm wishing all of you wonderful Scorpios much love and much light and many blessings and good luck. And I hope that money goes well, and I hope that romance goes well. You have a great month, Scorpio. Bye now.